welcome to Guitar Journals. I've always had a little bit of a dream creating some YouTube content for guitar players, and as we all know, there are not a lot of channels on YouTube dealing with guitar related stuff. Oops, there is. But anyways, look at this video as a kind of a pilot thing, like when TV shows air. I mean, I'm not a professional video maker at all. As you can see, I have bad lighting and maybe the sound is bad, but I just want to try out this stuff and maybe this could be a regular thing. So the idea behind this channel is for me to talk about my guitar journey, mostly from a gear point of view, from way back when I started playing guitar up to now, and later in the future, about future gear that I am going to achieve. In this way, I hope I can inspire both beginning guitar players, but also seasoned guitar players. And as you probably can hear from my accent, I am not an English-speaking person. I am from Norway, but I hope you can understand me. So let's begin at the beginning. My name is Alf. I am 38 years old. I play guitar in a cover band called Regos. We have many gigs, paid gigs. I do not do this for a living. We don't have that many gigs, but we do have a lot of paid gigs. I have always been interested in and fascinated by music, as probably most people. I can remember from a very early age me hearing music on the radio, music that made me cry, music that made me kind of pumped up, you know. I always been a kind of sensitive person, so even though I do not come from a very musical family, I think it was given that I was supposed to do something with music later in my life. Through my adolescent years, I listened mostly to hit songs, and this was in the early to mid to late, I would probably say mid to late 90s. But I had a kind of schizophrenic music taste, because on one side of things I listened to hit music, and then I was really into the Eagles, mainly because of my sisters were very, very big fans of the song Hotel California. Around about this time in 1994, when I was 13, Eagles got back together after a 14-year break, and they released a live album called Hell Freezes Over. And man, it was packed with guitar related music, and that was kind of my introduction to the guitar side of things in music I listened to, and that's what made me want to learn to play a guitar. It took about 4 years for me to kind of make that step into actually learning to play guitar. By then I was 17. I know many guitar players, they start at a very young age. I was 17. I attended my first guitar class, and I remember, like, I'd only played guitar in in school, in music lessons at school, because it was part of the curriculum, you know. But so I remembered, actually, sorry about, I have some cats here disturbing me. I remembered the D chord. That's one chord I remembered from way back then. But I remember coming to the class, and by this time I was a big fan of the Eagles, and the kind of, because of that Hell Freezes Over concert, where a lot of the songs were acoustic songs. Acoustic guitar was my go-to. I wanted to learn to play Tequila Sunrise, you know, the rhythm guitar. That was kind of a dream I had, a goal I had. And of course, learning to play Tequila Sunrise and not having played guitar very much before, I had to start with more basic songs. So I remember the very first song I learned was Knocking on Heaven's Door. Probably the one that goes in D. I think that's a pretty standard song to learn when you're starting out to learn guitar. I didn't have my own guitar at that point. And since this channel is called the Guitar Journals, I'm going to talk about different guitars and gear, both that has inspired me, but also, you know, the one that got away and all that stuff. But I had a good friend, and she let me borrow her classical guitar, because when I started playing guitar, and the guitar that I used in the lessons before my friend lended me that guitar, was also a classical guitar, because the teacher said that because of me not having built up the calluses in my fingertips, that was a better guitar type to start with. But anyways, I got to borrow one from a friend, and I believe maybe 2-3 months later I nailed that Tequila Sunrise rhythm guitar with that very particular string pattern on ding 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 ding, which is not very easy for a beginner. But I was so stoked. I was so stoked that I learned that rhythm guitar part and that song, because I love the Eagles and I particularly love that song. But maybe 6 months later, I bought my first guitar. And it's a big shame that I can't remember the brand of the guitar. I only remember that it was a classical guitar. It didn't cost a lot of money. I think I paid maybe $120 maybe for it, or 1,000 Norwegian kroners. But that was my first guitar, and I love that guitar. Then a friend of mine introduced me to steel string acoustic, and I was just mesmerized by the sound of the steel string acoustic, because that was the sound. I mean, classical guitars, they have their own sound and their own use for it, but really when I heard the steel string guitar that my friend had, and when I tried it, of course it was a lot more difficult to play, but man, that sound. That was a Crafter guitar. I can't remember the model, but it was a Crafter, and I tricked him into selling that to me. So I sold my classical guitar. I think I only had that for 6 months. Then I sold it and I bought the Crafter.